Hey guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's April 18th, and spring made a pretty decent appearance this past week in New Jersey, and then we're going to get back to some cooler temperatures tomorrow. But it is spring, and my flowers are up, and that makes me happy, Eli. So, of
That is
course,
all.
I'm here. I'm here with Elijah Weintraub, my co-host, my friend, and he's going to start us off with the monologue this week, which of course is sponsored by Coriano Trucking. So take it away, my friend.
Well, it's great to be with you, Jim. It's great. The weather is finally getting somewhat back to normal into the hot weather, but we're gonna get the cold again this week, and we got rain tomorrow. But we still
Yep.
have a great week ahead and tons of sports to talk about on today's show. I'm gonna kick it off with the monologue sponsored by Coriano Trucking, as Jim mentioned. The monologue today is all about this whole World Cup and New Jersey Transit mess. Well, I've been talking about this a lot of times already on the show as my random points and stuff. But officially this week and yesterday, we now confirmed all the details. We now know the reasonings behind it, and we now know the actual plan for when the World Cup comes around in less than 2 months here in June in the United States, in New Jersey, New York. So the focus is on, of course, New Jersey, New York. And here's what New Jersey Transit said and confirmed to the officials this week.
Mhm.
There will be bus service from Grand Central Station and Port Authority Bus Terminal to the games at MetLife Stadium for a round trip cost of $80 for a bus ride. Gets better. It gets only better, folks. Rail service from Penn Station to MetLife via Secaucus, $150. Before, a couple weeks ago, we've been saying it was only going to be $100. Now it's $150, but it gets better. Only 40,000 tickets will be offered per match day. Once all 40,000 are sold, that is it. They're not available on match day, and they're available to purchase starting today. And once they're out, they're out. You're on your own on how to get to the game. There will be limited parking, as we mentioned, to American Dream on previous shows. But honestly, it's kind of cheaper if you think about it to park and pay the $300 at American Dream. If you're taking the train, it's $150 a person. You're a family of four. You could park your car for $250. So much cheaper than taking a train at this point. It's crazy to think about this. And now, if you're probably wondering, what happens to our regular New Jersey Transit weekday riders? What's going on there? Well, we now know new information. New Jersey Transit plans to provide a discount for riders impacted by services on Monday, June 22nd and Tuesday, June 30th, as rail service will be suspended during match games to New York Penn Station. The trains will still operate to Hoboken, Newark, and everywhere else, but not to New York and Secaucus. For lines that go like to Rutherford and Passaic, Clifton, all those little cities on the Main and Bergen lines, they will continue to operate, but they will be bypassing Secaucus Junction and go right to Hoboken Terminal. So that is just going to be a mess altogether for New Jersey Transit riders. And if you're a weekday commuter that takes to New York, New Jersey Transit is basically saying to you and made it clear in bold letters, stay at home if you can, avoid travel, work from home if you can. That is what New Jersey Transit is urging. Now, what we also learned from this week, FIFA is not providing a single dollar to New Jersey Transit or to anybody for transportation. It would all come out of taxpayer dollars, and that is the reason why we are seeing such high fares for New Jersey Transit on the bus and rail service. Now, to give you some other perspectives, in Philadelphia and their transit system, SEPTA, they're offering rides for $2.90. And Boston and MBTA, their transit service, $80 to get to Foxborough for the games. Does it make sense? Yes, and it does not surprise me. Is it fair? Yes, because if not, it comes out of taxpayer dollars. But to me, like I said, parking at American Dream seems like the way to go, especially if you are a big party, like a family of four, for example. It just seems like that's the way to go. And the crazy part is, this is just transportation. We still haven't even talked about yet the field conditions, which are always a mess at MetLife Stadium, the actual game itself, and everything inside the stadium. This is just the transportation portion. And we've
Yeah.
also covered about how the name has changed already on the outside. If you pass by on the turnpike like I do every morning, you already see the MetLife logo is covered up with the FIFA World Cup New York, New Jersey Stadium logo. So it's already a mess, and we're not even through the beginning stages. We're just getting through transportation, and it just started. And it just goes to show you how big of a mess it's going to be when the World Cup comes, and also how corrupt it is in the World Cup. How they're not even giving a single dollar to New Jersey or to these other places.
Well, You brought up the biggest word in that monologue was corrupt. And I had a conversation with our soccer expert Diego Cruz, who is just as appalled as you and I, the average fan, about what the gap
And Jim, I believe you froze up for a second there.
there. I think we're back. Right, Eli?
Yeah, I think you froze up there for a second.
Okay.
But you were
So
saying something
anyway,
about Diego. That was
yeah.
your.
So everyone is aware that this is going to be a nightmare. I mean, it's a great event, of course. The World Cup is awesome. But even Diego said, "I'll stay home and watch it rather than be subjected to all of these outrageous charges and basically the nightmare of attending the game." So it is,
Right.
you know, it's coming. It's going to be here, and we're going to have to deal with it. And you brought it up perfectly. There are a lot of people that use New Jersey Transit, and they're going to be affected to make this thing work. So
Absolutely. And I
if you
think I
guys
summed
want,
it up best. It's a corrupt World Cup, basically.
yeah,
The whole league, everything is a corrupt system. And it's it's crazy to say that the biggest tournament in the world is corrupt, but that's how it is. And that's why maybe that's why, for example, us in the United States, we can't get into soccer as much as we do with the NFL and these other sports. Maybe that is why.
yep,
That's also another great question that can be brought up on a later show. And we'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, you can call in anytime, scan the QR code, or leave a comment in the chat. Diego is saying good morning. Good morning, Diego. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know your thoughts if you have any. He says also, stay home and watch it with friends and family. Great point there.
yeah. That's all you could do. That's all you could
Yeah.
do. So
Let's go to
anyway,
the
the World
Masters.
Cup is yes. Let's talk about the Masters. I love the Masters, and it didn't disappoint again. The course was beautiful. The weather was outstanding, and Rory McIlroy wins his second straight Masters. And as you caught me a little off guard, I did get the Jack Nicklaus one last week. Back-to-back winners was Nicklaus, was Tiger Woods, and was Nick Faldo. So, if I was going to do the monologue, I was going to bring this up because at this point in time, that sets Rory McIlroy into an elite class. And when I think about the young guys, and he has been absolutely just consistent throughout his career. Yes, he's lost some matches and things like that, but when you look at when Jordan Spieth won the Masters, he was like 22, 23 years old. His career hasn't really prospered like we thought it was going to be. And you could put Justin Thomas in there. They, like I said, they both won matches, but McIlroy wins tournaments throughout the year as well. So I got to give him credit because I told you with this whole live thing starting to fall apart, I gained a newfound respect for him when he stood up and said, "Let him go. If you want to go, then you're not part of the PGA Tour." And he was the spokesman, but from a consistency perspective, and mind you, he's only 35 years old, and some of his best golf is still to be played. So you got to put him in that category of guys that have been consistent. And Justin Thomas has won a few tournaments here and there. Definitely has a master, not a masters, but he's got a couple of majors. So I mean, when you look at Rory's career, and I wasn't a big fan of his all the time. I thought he was a little brash and cocky kid, but he has proven to me that he is going to go down as one of the great golfers of his generation. That's my
Absolutely.
take on it. And he did win it. And Scotty Scheffler was right there, comes in second. And you had a run by Cam Young and, some of these other golfers, which made it an interesting Sunday at the Masters. Um, and I think a lot of people may have been rooting for Justin Rose, right? 45 years old, getting to the twilight of his career. But we knew he was going to be in the mix on Sunday. He was. Didn't work out for him, but he's still a classy guy, and he's got a big following in the U.S. but the Masters just didn't disappoint. I love it. Now we got three more majors to go. Um, I'm excited about the rest of the PGA Tour and the majors. I love it.
It it was a great finish at the Masters. We love to see a back-to-back champion, and we saw it there. Rory deserved it. It was a great tournament all around, and as the rest of the PGA Tour goes around, we'll see who becomes victorious and does it live up to what we saw at the Masters last weekend.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of criticism directed at CBS about some of the camera work that was done, especially on the 18th hole. But you know what? That kind of happens. The
It
coverage was
happens
great.
everywhere.
Right. Nance does a great job, and Immelman is an outstanding color commentator. So overall, the Masters, we're 360 plus days away from the next one, and I can't wait for it. Great
I
Masters.
I do got to say though, Nance always delivers at the end. He says one simple line, but it's the most powerful line it feels like in sports. Like he says one line, stops talking, you don't hear from him for like another 20 minutes. It's like that's perfect. Like he really is the perfect person for the job. It really
He's
is.
a solid pro, no doubt.
Yeah. All right.
All
So
right,
let's go now
Eli.
to the NHL and talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Okay, and I know people are going, whoa, 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 whoa. What about the NFL? Well, we're going to get to the NFL in a little bit. But Eli, give us a little summary about the NHL playoffs, which begin today as well.
Yes, so the tournament of the playoffs begin today. Of course, you can watch on ESPN, ESPN2, TNT, TBS throughout the playoffs. The good news is it's all on regular television. We don't have to worry about streaming services. Yay. That's a plus
Hey,
in the NHL. Um,
yep.
we have an interesting bracket this year. And quite frankly, there are three teams in this playoffs that haven't been in the playoffs since 2020 or late or earlier than that. I'm going to give you those three teams. And actually, this is actually an interesting fact. The Flyers are in the playoffs for the first time since 2020. Their last appearance on cable television was on NBC. The Anaheim Ducks are in it. And the last time they were in the playoffs was 2015. And guess what the channel was when the last time they were on the playoffs? The NBC Golf Channel. Do you remember when NBC Golf Channel had hockey games, folks? Well, that's when that's the last time the Ducks were on it. But it gets
Uh-huh.
better. This is my favorite, and this is my question to you, Jim. The Sabres, the last time they were in the playoffs was in 2011 on a channel called Versus. Do you remember that channel? Like, could you tell me what Versus is? Like,
I kind of do remember it, but I couldn't tell you what their lineup was on a consistent basis. But yeah, you bring up those teams that have been struggling, and the drought that the Buffalo Sabres have had over the course of the past 15, 20 years, and now I think they finished second in the Eastern
yep,
Conference. But that's an exciting team. You got to root for a team that hasn't been there forever. And, what a surprise. They got off to a slow start and they've been consistent. And I know the Avalanche won the President's Trophy. And you're right, Eli, the curse has kind of been there since I think 2013 was the last time
yep,
a team that won the President's Trophy won the Stanley Cup. So, um, we talk time and time again about how long a season it is for the NHL, but these guys play. They don't miss. Completely different than the NBA, who tank and sit guys.
absolutely, yep.
Um, I can't wait for this, and I wanted to single out a few players in the league that make this exciting. And Connor McDavid, he's been to the Stanley Cup Finals, and nobody is dying to win a Stanley Cup more than him. And he had 90,
Absolutely.
yeah, 90 assists and 48 goals, and he's probably going to be the MVP again. And how about this, Eli? One of the biggest surprises, and I love it, because he was a rookie, this Macklin Celebrini. I mean, what a season this kid had. I think he's from BU or BC. I'm not 100% sure. Might be
Right.
BU. But how about that? 115 points. And, of course, the other two marquee players, Nathan McKinnon, led the league in goals. Just a great, great player. And there's one other guy I wanted to bring up. Oh, there's a guy named Alexander Ovechkin, and they didn't make the playoffs. So the big question is, will he return? And I
He
think
will.
he's leaning toward coming back. I don't know whether or not the Caps want him back. Of course, they would want
They
him to
do want him
retire.
back. Do you not want him? They want him back, Jim. Yes, they do. They want him back. The Capitals want him back. Ovechkin wants to be back. They absolutely want to be back. He wants to be back. Jim, you there? We might have lost Jim there for a second. Hopefully, we'll regain him in a second. Uh, Jim, are you back there?
Here we are. I'm back.
Okay.
So, um, but anyway, yes, I'm excited. It's going to be a long road, and I've always said the Stanley Cup is the hardest trophy to win in sports. So that's underway, and all the season awards and so forth will be handed out.
Yeah,
But I'm excited to watch guys, and in particular like Kreider and Panarin. All those guys. I mean, Panarin's on the Kings, but Kreider and those
absolutely.
guys in the playoffs, and it was just an absolute horrific year for the Rangers and the Devils, and we got to move on. We got to move on.
Yeah. Well, by the way, just a couple other notes before we get to some other moves in the NHL. By the way, the first round matches are Avalanche versus the Kings, the Stars versus the Wild, the Mammoth versus the Golden Knights, the Oilers versus the Ducks. On the eastern side, you have the Sabres Bruins, Lightning Canadians, Hurricane Senators, and the Penguins and the Flyers. A lot of close battles. I mean, look at Penguins Flyers. It is a battle of Philadelphia already in the first round. That's going to be a great series to watch there, too. All great series all around in the NHL as it heats up. The couple other notes I do want to bring up from the NHL real quick. The New Jersey Devils have named former Florida Panthers Vice President of Hockey Operations, Sonny Mehta, as their new GM. He did serve as the Devils Director of Analytics in 2010. And Jonathan
Mhm.
Quick announces his retirement from the Rangers and hockey.
Yeah, that was a great send off he had in his last game too. Yeah, he's a Hall of Fame goaltender, had a 19-year career and got a couple Stanley Cups under his belt. So congratulations to Jonathan Quick on a great career, no doubt.
Scarface comments. He says, "Can Florida three-peat?" Well, they're not in the playoffs, so they cannot three-peat.
Yeah,
He says, "I hate them, but the Canes are good." Brendan Moore always has that squad looking good and tough. Yes, but they are not in it this year. Florida.
he does. You know what? That's an interesting team because the Carolina Hurricanes have had one of the best teams for
Yep.
um, many years, and yet they can't get over that finish line. Again, they've done it once, but not under the Brindamore era, I don't believe. So
No.
exciting. And you're right.
Yeah.
We don't have to subscribe to channels to watch it. Isn't
It's
that
great,
great?
isn't it? Thank you to the NHL. Before we go off the NHL, who wins the Stanley Cup? I'm going with Vegas. Who's winning the Stanley Cup for you, Jim?
I think this year that curse is going to end. I think Colorado is going to win the Stanley Cup.
Ooh.
I
He
know.
thinks the curse ends. Yeah, no. There's a thing called curses, Jim.
I know you believe in them. I know.
And speaking of curses, another league that is out there is the NBA, where the NBA
Mm.
playoffs also start today. I'm going to go through the teams in just a second, but there's two things I want to bring up. First, remember the Knicks did win that in-season tournament. Whenever you win the in-season tournament, you don't win, so we just should not expect the Knicks to win a trophy. Second,
Mm.
why? Why are there first-round playoff games on streaming services? You have 5 different places to watch games. You have ABC, ESPN, NBC, which are all cable channels. Keep that in mind. Then you have games starting today. The first 3 games today are on Prime Video. On top of that, you have exclusive games throughout the tournament on Peacock. Why? Why? We should be able to switch back and forth from channels. We should not have to deal with no streaming services. I am just, oh. And did you see the technical issues that Prime Video had this week? A big sign.
Yeah.
Like, oh boy, man, it was just like frustrating. It's frustrating to know this stuff.
Right, and we've seen it already with the YouTube productions and the prime productions. They're just not top quality, and they're forcing us to pay for mediocre coverage, and it's very frustrating as a fan. And we've talked about this time and time again. I know our loyal listeners agree with us for the most part, but you know what? I can't be less excited about the NBA playoffs because but here's to the point. I wanted to bring this up because you mentioned the Knicks. And I think the Eastern Conference is certainly weaker than the Western Conference.
No
So
question about it.
even if the Knicks do, and I think because of the weakness of that conference, I think they can make it to the NBA Finals. A lot of
You
people
think
are
so?
thinking they may not even get past the Atlanta Hawks. They're getting past the Atlanta Hawks. They'll win that in 5 games, and then they'll move on. And really, the only competition, I guess, is
Would be
Detroit,
Boston.
right?
Well, no, because remember
Boston.
the Knicks. Remember, if the Knicks do win, which they will likely, they'll take care of the Hawks, no problem. But they'll take on this either winner of Celtics 76ers, and the likelihood is the Celtics are going to be the winner in that series.
Yeah, because you don't have this guy Embiid just doesn't want to play. Yeah, somebody said, well, an appendicitis or an appendectomy.
Okay,
Okay, but there's going to be something else. The guy is just not one of my favorite players in this league, and
no question.
so and on the Western Conference with the playoff games, now you have the Golden State Warriors who haven't really been
They're out.
relevant in a couple of years. They're out,
Yeah, hmm
and
they lost
that
last
means
night.
Steve. And I saw an interview with Steve Kerr. It sounds like he's going to be out as well. He's going to go the route with Doc Rivers, who's out. And he says, "I'm
Yeah,
done
but
with
he stepped
coaching."
down though from his position because of health. They were saying, wasn't that from what I saw?
Oh, Rivers or
Yeah,
Kerr?
Rivers.
Yeah, no, he's just frustrated with the state of the game. These prima donnas who
Wow,
don't show up to
that's the
play,
league and the
and
Players Association. That's a different
yeah,
argument for a different day, isn't it? Though.
I know.
But here are the teams though that are in the playoffs. It's Thunder, Suns, Lakers, Rockets, Nuggets, Timberwolves, and Spurs, Trailblazers out on the West. On the Eastern side, it's Pistons, Magic, Cavaliers, Raptors, Knicks, Hawks, and Celtics, 76ers. My pick to
Yeah.
win the NBA championship will be the Oklahoma City Thunder. How about you, Jim?
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we would go anywhere else. I think their prime competition will be the San Antonio Spurs. So if that's the Western Conference final, that would be great. That would be good theater at least because you got the
Absolutely.
marquee players. Um, but you know what? I can't get overly excited about the NBA. And you know, the winner of the NBA championship will certainly come from the Western Conference. There's just not a lot of talent on the East Coast, on the Eastern Conference. So we'll see. And I actually thought that the first series in the NBA playoffs was 3 out of 5, but I was mistaken. Eli
It is
corrected
7.
me. It's best of 7, right?
Yes, the only sport that's like different that's not 7 games is the MLB, but everybody else they're all 7 games.
Right.
But yes, it is an interesting series. The one thing I am looking for about the NBA playoffs is inside the NBA when the games are on ABC and ESPN because now inside the NBA is on ABC and ESPN. So I'm just looking forward to seeing those guys have a good laugh at the end of the show, making me laugh and smile. I mean, look, last season they ended off with a potential marriage on the show. That's just good TV right there, and that's what you love to see. I know, Jim, you don't watch anything like that. What begins with pregame, postgame, or anything that begins with something before game. Yes, I know.
Well, anything that has to do with Charles Barkley, I'm out. So forget it. I'm not. I'm out.
Wow, that's good TV. Uh, Before we move on, Eric says, "Good morning, happy Saturday, happy Saturday." Thank you for tuning in, Eric.
Thank you, Eric. Loyal listener right there, my
Yes.
friends.
Before we go to the MLB, before we go to MLB, before we go to the NFL, let's talk about the MLB real quick.
Yep.
And the Yankees, boy, they're on a slow stretch. I mean, they have 11-9 record right now, but they've been getting a decent amount of losses by the time when we had our last show and now. Do you want to talk about that? Go ahead. I think we might have lost Jim there for a second, folks. We hope to regain him now.
So let's see if we're back in the game here.
Jim, are you back?
Hear me right?
Yes, now I can. Yes, you lost connection there for a
Okay.
second.
All right. So real stream or whatever it is, you gotta make it right for us because our fans deserve it. So I
Jim, I think we lost you again, Jim. I think you might. Yeah, you're breaking up a lot, Jim. Maybe go back downstairs to where you had the
let me
studio.
take a swipe at Major League Baseball.
We apologize for the issues again. Hopefully, we will regain Jim soon. Jim, are you there?
To our listeners because
Jim, you there?
this is unacceptable.
Jim, are you there?
Eli, you back with us?
I'm here the entire time. We're waiting for you.
Okay. So yeah, basically most of the teams are hovering outside of the Dodgers. We're off to the best start of a defending World Series champion since the 1928 New York Yankees, which that's saying something. But the mediocrity that, and listen, I don't want to say I told you so, but the Mets, they revamped the whole thing and they're just not performing. Yeah, I know Lindor gets off to a slow start usually, but this is unusually bad start for the Mets. And it's going to be tough for them to dig out. I mean, that's the only division where, besides the Dodgers, I mean, the Braves sit atop the NL East, and the Yankees.
Absolutely.
They're hovering around. But I also said, I know Boston got off to a slow start, but they'll bounce back. They'll be in the mix down. And the Orioles, we thought they were an up and coming. Alonso hasn't started a hit yet. When he does, I think they'll be a decent team. We know about the Central Division. It's the Tigers and the Twins, and that's one of the
Right.
worst divisions in baseball. But yeah, so I had a couple other notes about. We talked about this the other day about these young kids that they're signing contracts to, right? We talked about Colt Emerson in Seattle. We talked about Connor Griffin in Pittsburgh, and the latest was this Kevin McGonigal for the Twins. I mean, for the Tigers. That these guys haven't really any major league experience, and yet they're locking them up right now because they're young prospects. And when you look at that, the Royals did that with Bobby Witt Jr., who's an outstanding major league player. But considering his status in Major League Baseball, in 2 years, if the Yankees are paying Trent Grisham, which I brought up before, he's a 216 lifetime hitter. He had his career year last year, and they paid him $22 million, like Bobby Witt Jr., which is crazy. So, I mean, this is where we're at in Major
Absolutely.
League Baseball, Eli.
That's where we are. All right. Before we go to the NFL, I wanted to bring up the WNBA real quick because there was a lot that happened last week, and let's go ahead and break it down. So the WNBA draft is officially in the books, and we are now 1 week away from the first preseason game. From the draft at pick number 1, Z Flawed from UConn heads to the Dallas Swings, while TCU's Olivia Miles was drafted number 2, heading to the Minnesota Lynx. In addition, it was a record-setting night for UCLA as 6 of their players were drafted at picks 4, 5, 6, 9, 15, and 18. The best part?
Mm-hmm.
4 players, 2 each, will be playing for the same team. Lauren Betts and Angela Douglas, Washington Mystics. Gianna Neepkins and Charlize Legerwalker is heading to Connecticut Sun, while Kiki Rice is heading to the Toronto Tempo, and Gabrielle Jacquez is heading to the Suns. This season, there is a lot to look forward to, including the first games of 2 new teams of the Toronto Tempo and the Portland Fire. To wrap up, players are finally re-signing new contracts with the teams, and making more money, part of the new deal. For example, the New York Liberty re signed some key players and new contracts like Brianna Stewart, who re signed for a 3 year, $3.75 million deal. While Indiana Fever's Aliyah Boston signed a 4 year, $6.3 million deal, giving her the richest total salary in the league. The WNBA is back, and it's better than ever. Jim's clearly mic dropped. He can't even.
What's going on with this?
He hasn't even spoken. That's how it just perfect. It went. He was mic dropped.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to the WNBA other than I know they're getting paid now with the new collective bargaining agreement. So you'll keep us posted.
It was yeah. I will keep you posted. Of course, the WNBA is back on. First preseason game next week. We'll talk more about that as time moves on. Until then, we now head to the NFL, where it's draft season, as the Raiders are going to soon be on the clock at pick number 1. We know who they were going to get. It's going to be Fernando Mendoza. But the question is, who does everybody else get from picks 2 on, starting with the New York Jets? By the way, the draft is on Thursday at 8 o'clock on ABC, ESPN, and NFL Network.
Yeah, and I know people don't want us to do a kind of a mock draft, but because we've been hearing about this for 8 months. They don't know any more than we do, but let's just look. I think one of the more interesting facts and about so let's go through the top 10 draft picks. Top 10 teams is Vegas, the Jets, Arizona at 3, Tennessee 4, Giants at 5, Cleveland, Washington, New Orleans, KC, and Cincinnati round out the top 10. And I think the interesting thing is we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Sonny Styles, Caleb Cornell Tate. These are 4 players from Ohio State that could all go in the first top 10. So whether or not there's going to be some game day trades, maybe, but I think the Jets, interestingly enough, and obviously they need.
Jim, you broke up again. Jim, you either got to move to your phone or you got to go back downstairs, because that's seems like what's the way to go here. But you're back on though, Jim? No,
I don't know what's happening.
Oh, we lost Jim again. We apologize again for the issues on Jim's end. We'll figure it out hopefully soon. Jim, you there?
Oh man. No, Eli. Let me go out and come back in. You take us away while I'm out.
Yeah, or try logging in from your phone or downstairs. Well, Jim goes ahead and reconnects with us. As we mentioned, the draft is in progress and it's on the way. Pick number 2 is the Jets, Cardinals at 3, Titans at 4, and Giants at 5. And by the way, anybody who's calling in, you can feel free to call in anytime. Scan the QR code or wherever. We love to hear your thoughts here. My early predictions. I know Jim doesn't want to do mock draft. I think that Arvell Reese, Ohio State edge rusher, he goes to the New York Jets, and I think Caleb Downs becomes the New York Giant. I think that's the only smart strategy that the Giants need to do, because again, we saw how bad their defense was last season, especially with the Denver Broncos. And I think a player like Caleb Downs definitely needs to go to a team like the New York Giants. That's only if Jeremiah Love, the running back, goes to Tennessee, which the Titans do need a running back. So that's who I think the Giants should get if Jeremiah Love is out.
Well, if he's not there, I think it's a clear cut. John Harbaugh is a defensive guy, so it could be Styles, it could be Reese, or one of those two could go to the Jets at 2. Even though the Jets need a quarterback, I think the jury is still out about whether Ty Simpson is a top 10 pick. Otherwise, he could fall, into the later first round. But I think he's going to be a good quarterback. But I think the Jets are going to go defense as well. And maybe Ty Simpson and maybe the Cardinals surprise us because they don't have a quarterback. Maybe they go Ty Simpson. But when you look at Eli, you look at the draft and the names, once you get past like number 15, there are a lot of guys that most people haven't heard of. There's some outstanding, offensive linemen, and there's a couple of wide receivers that they're talking about. But I'm excited because it's always a great event. We're going to watch it, and I love the fact that they cut down the um, first
That's
round
great. I'm really
selections.
happy
Right?
about that. I am happy
Yeah,
about that. I'm thrilled. Last note from the NFL before we move off real quick. Texans edge rusher Will Anderson Jr. signs a 3-year, $150 million deal, making him the highest paid non QB in the league.
yeah. Well, he certainly earned his money, I guess, when we're talking about $50 million. I don't know that anybody deserves that. Pandora's box has been.
Fortunately, we lost Jim again there. I'm gonna have to probably send him the link by the phone because so we apologize again for the issues. Jim, I'm gonna
I'm
send you the link through your
going
phone.
to move it. Has anything to do with my location, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Okay, you go do that. Um, I'm gonna send you a link by phone just in case you need it. Um, in the meantime, though, the NFL, the draft is this week, so stay tuned for that as it all is going to be kicking off this Thursday, 8 o'clock on ABC, ESPN, and of course NFL Network. As Jim gets himself situated, we are going to kick off random points at this time. I think, right? We should go to random
Yep,
points. All
sure.
right. All right. Well, here we go. Here are some random points that we need to know, and I'll kick it off as usual. It's never too early to start talking about the Super Bowl, so let's kick it off and let's start talking about the Super Bowl. This week, Disney revealed the price for a Super Bowl ad is going to be $10 million for 30 seconds. We will have to wait to see what CBS's price will be for the 2028 Super Bowl. Seton Hall stars are now on the move. Najah Hines has now signed with UConn, and Bud Clark signed last night with Ole Miss. With Ole Miss, there are two of the biggest stars from Seton Hall as they are now out and moving on to two new homes, UConn and Ole Miss. Villanova and Notre Dame men's basketball programs will be playing an international game on November 1st in Rome, Italy. The question now is, will the Pope be in attendance? And lastly, if you've been watching Jeopardy, we've been seeing an impressive run from New Jersey law student Jamie Ding, who has a 26-day grand total of $732,000. He's been doing great every game and is slowly but surely making up the leaderboard. In case you're wondering, the most games won was 74 by Ken Jennings. The highest winnings in a regular season is Ken Jennings with $2,520,700. So he's still got some ways to go, but definitely making some progress up the leaderboard. Jamie stands at 5th place for consecutive games and ranks 6th for most money run for most money
It hasn't been a
won
good
in a game.
production day for. Apologize to all our loyal listeners today.
Jim, I think you need to go on your you got to go on your phone, Jim. It seems like that's the issue. We've been getting comments about that too. It's on your end, Jim. By the way, Derek says tuned in today. Good to see you and miss you, Jim, from Derek. Thank you for tuning in. Jim, maybe switch to your phone, Jim.
Yeah. All right, we're back here.
Okay.
All right, go keep going with your randoms, Eli.
I finished it. It's all you now.
Okay.
Well, you had
So
the
I did
twins.
see an excellent little documentary on ESPN. They have a little segment called SC Featured, and it was about Kirk Gibson. Was a great story. You know, I remember him playing football at Michigan State, and then he chose baseball and had that dramatic home run in the '88 World Series. He's been battling Parkinson's disease, but he started some sort of a clinic for people. It's sad to see that these athletes, and like I said, it's just these are people that are in sports and so forth, but it happens all the time. I had some experience with Parkinson's with a family member too. But it was a great feel good story, and I highly recommend that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and Eli, we mentioned last week that it was the University of Denver against, and University of Denver wins their 11th national championship game. Um, and how about this, Eli? Normally we mention it, but April 15th was Jackie Robinson Day in Major League Baseball. Well
Yeah.
deserved. Every team, every player wears number 42. Awesome. Um, and I was a little negligent. I know Diego's listening. He told me we never bring up the Champions League, and I don't follow it very well, but from a soccer fan perspective, he says it's just the best players in the world. It's exciting, and like I said, I don't know. I can't tell you who's going to win it, who's not going to win it. Um, but Eli, one other quick thing I wanted to bring up because
Yep.
when we talked about the NFL draft and the situation with Reuben Bain, who a potential first round draft pick, and turns out that they buried a couple of things where he was involved in an automobile accident and somebody was killed, and they buried this, typical University of Miami. Um, but that you got to wonder how that's going to play out with his draft status. These are stories that we continue to see over and over again. And of course, we don't want to talk about this Rossini Vrabel thing because it's been beaten to death. It's kind of a crazy thing. A lot of people are questioning her credibility now, and some people are saying, "Well, why doesn't Vrabel get subject to it?" Well, he's just the coach. He's not the ones that report it. So there's the fundamental difference there. And like I said, so it's kind of been a black mark on draft week for the NFL, but it is what it is.
We have one more comment from Derek. He says, Jim, did you see Indiana basketball portal pickups ranked number 1?
I don't doubt it, Derek. I mean, Indiana seems to have found some sort of a super thing. All right, there's Diego. But yeah,
Diego says
Indiana
Champions League
is
semifinal games, Bayern Munich and PSG and Atletico Madrid and Arsenal. Yes, thank you.
okay. I'm sure these are all the guys that are going to be playing in the World Cup. But getting back to Derek's point about Indiana basketball, they want to get back in the relevance of college basketball, and they haven't been for a while. So I think, the portal is the portal. We talk about it
Absolutely.
time and time again. We can't get away from it. So good luck to them, because I know Derek and one of our loyal listeners, Tom Pugh, who, by the way, lives in Kansas City, and this terrible weather that's been going through Minnesota and Milwaukee and Wisconsin and Missouri. It's just terrible, the tornadoes situation going. So we wish
Absolutely.
all of
We
our
wish
loyal
everybody the best,
listeners
of course.
from that area the best. Yep.
Absolutely. All right. Well, it's now time for What's Your Recommendation and the photo segment sponsored by Vital Selections. You could scan the QR code to learn more.
Yep.
So I'll give my recommendation first. Well, this week, Paramount announced Top Gun 3 is in the works. So I got to recommend watching one of the original Top Guns, either Top Gun 1 or 2. Tom Cruise is back. It's exciting when Top Gun's in the works.
All right. I actually thought Top Gun Maverick was better than the original, so I don't know
It
whether
was good, though. Yes.
Yeah, it was good. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I have one, Eli, because I'm a big Sopranos fan. I think Sopranos is one of the greatest television shows ever produced.
Of
But
course,
there's a
yeah.
little documentary on HBO Max called Wise Guy, where they interviewed David Chase, who's the creator and director of The Sopranos. A lot of behind the scenes footage and the audition. So if you're a Sopranos fan, you would love this. It's only 2 parts, so you can check it out. But it was, the making of one of the greatest shows ever, some of the great stories. And I told you I went to see a couple of cast members do a night with the Sopranos in Montclair, about a year ago,
Absolutely.
which was outstanding. But I love the show, and it took me a while. I have one of my young friends that he never watched The Sopranos, and I finally convinced him to do it watched it all the way through. He did, and says, "You were right. It was great." Great.
That's awesome. Well,
Yep.
here's some pictures for today.
Okay. Now this is a picture. And Eli and I talked about this because, growing up playing baseball, so now he's at a level where they moved from a little league field to the big boy field, right? The bases are no
Yep.
longer 60 feet, now they're 90 feet. And he's a catcher on his middle school team, Black River Middle School.
I think we have lost Jim again, but I think he's trying to sum up and say in that picture here that this is his grandson who's playing in a bigger field, the Little League Stadium field.
Play, but I
The
will.
dimensions are much bigger, and it's much different from when Jim is playing, and that's what the summary was. What he was trying to say before he broke up there.
Yeah,
That was what
you
that
got
picture
it.
is representing.
Yep.
Here's the next picture.
Now, I know this seems a little hard to even make out, but this is a water tower, which was in our neighborhood growing up in Oakland. And that's where we used to play stickball on. We painted a strike zone on the water tower, and we had all the dimensions laid up. So I wanted to bring that up because I know certain guys like Ed Heath and Eddie Mott from Oakland, right down the street from that. But, that's what we used to do. In the old days in New York City, they'd play stickball and so
And that's what
forth.
they did, yeah.
And I happened to be in Oakland. Right. So I happened to be in Oakland, and of course, I drove by to see the bench in honor of my little brother. So I
Yeah,
wanted to put that up as well.
that's awesome. And the last picture.
Springtime, flowers. We love it. New Jersey, right?
That's the Jersey way to go.
Right. So my tulips are blowing up, and I love it. It brings spring to reality. I love it.
That's awesome. Well, we do have some notable passings to report. I'll kick it off since I had a couple, and I had one that you didn't have. Oscar Schmidt, Brazilian basketball legend who played in many basketball games, including the Olympics, has passed away at the age of 68. He was born in 1958. Former MLB manager Phil Garner has passed away. He was born in 1949 and was 76 years old.
Well, I got a little story for Phil Garner was an excellent second baseman, and he's known for his big mustache. But he was a member of the world champion Pittsburgh Pirates team in 1979, and yeah, he had a great career in Major League Baseball.
The next one, NFL coach Mac McGinnis has passed away. He was born in 1951 and was 74 years old.
Yeah, he coached a lot of different teams, but he was head coach for a few years in Arizona, and obviously Arizona didn't work out for him, but he was very well respected coach in the National Football League.
And the last one I have before I turn it over to Jim, baseball player Garrett Anderson has passed away at the age of 53. He was born in 1972.
Yeah, he was a young man, 53 years old, and Garrett Anderson is the all-time leading hits leader for the Angels franchise, and they did win a World Series in 2002. And I looked up his statistics, and he was just a solid major league player. 293 lifetime average, 2,500 hits. So when you talk about is he Hall of Fame eligible? Well, he's one of those borderline guys. Yeah, and he was a class act, by the way, as well. So that counts for me.
You had a couple more?
I do. From the world of sports, John Fitzgerald, and I know our Dallas Cowboy fans certainly know who John Fitzgerald was. He was a center for 12 years for the Dallas Cowboys, Super Bowl winner when they beat Denver in 1978, and just a typical Dallas Cowboy, longtime offensive lineman. He was 77 years old. Hell of a player, though. Hell of a player.
He was.
And two from kind of the world of entertainment. If we heard Sid Croft, right? Known as Sid and Marty Croft. They did a lot of these kind of shows called HR Puffin stuff. I don't know if people or younger generation may not know that, but that was a big hit. Very creative, these two. His brother passed away a few years ago, but Sid Croft was 89 years old. And Eli, I know I've mentioned it before as one of our recommendations when we were doing movies. Cool Hand Luke. Joy Harmon was had a scene where she was washing the car while these guys were working the building a road in Cool Hand Luke. One of the great movies.
Of course.
Very monumental scene in the picture. And she was 87.
All right. Well, we had a really great show today. We apologize for the issues, but we will be back normal and ready to
Yes.
go next Saturday at 10 o'clock for more sports with Mono and Mono.
Yes. So, by the way, I do apologize for for the technical issues that we had, but I think most of our content came through, and I'd love send us more comments at sportswithmono@gmail.com. And like I said, it's the NFL draft, so we'll all be up late on Thursday night, and we'll have a recap next Saturday at the same time, 10 o'clock.
All right, then. Have a great week, everyone.
Everybody have a great week. And again, apologies for the technical difficulties, but we'll have that remedied for next week's show.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Enjoy the
Bye-bye.
week, guys. Eli, you too. Be
See you.
good.
Bye bye.